He said that from the stab, that it wasn't just a stab, that the doctor had to insert his fingernails through the ribs and somewhere along the neck. Now, if she said she don't know that someone came into the house, I'm trying to quote a statement. How did she make a confessional statement to ascertain that it was a knife that was used to stab? Because the autopsy and the investigation that is being carried out on the body shows it was a knife stab.
But is the result of the autopsy out?
Yeah, is from the cousin's statement. The result is.
But we cannot rely on.
No, I'm taking the cousin's interview.
We cannot rely on the cousin because that one may be speaking from the point of emotion and sentiment.
Which is okay, but he is talking based on the report of what he saw when they went for.
But let us allow the result of the autopsy to come out
before now. Yes. Yeah, but on the other hand, how will she have known? Because she claimed she saw the body. How will she have known where the stabs, based on the cousin that saw the body, where the stabs was located?
Their statement is in agreement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If she claimed someone came, maybe she never knew, or if she went to buy for someone came to the apartment, how will she specifically say things on the spot in her confessional statement?
And she left in a hurry.
And she left
according to her last statement.
So she did not check the body when she saw it in the. According to her last statement.
If you
so that's what I'm saying.
Personally, I've already aligned my position myself with the position of the police. So I already see her this last statement as questionable. Yes, as an afterthought.
Okay. So moving away from but looking at Chidinma before we move away, what because people make it look as if she's the fault. It's just because this scenario happened. That's why we're talking about it. Our actions is going out with the big boys in town. It's like a norm in our society. Because no, to me, to you it might not be.
No.
It's becoming a norm.
What I'm trying to say in essence is, you see, by our standard, what it teaches us is this. Because staying on her initial statement that they smoked, they drank.
Yes, they took even
they drugs. Took what they call loud and SK according to her.
Yes.
So to that extent, I think parents should learn how to train their children and should know when their children is already deviating from the norms of the society.
So you
feel, at that age,
you feel she wasn't trained? Some children probably don't want to listen. Have you been to?
I don't think you are saying the right thing because I have a position of the scripture with respect to this, and God cannot lie. And the Bible say, train a child the way he should grow, so that when he grow up, he will not depart from it.
Mr. Matthew, let's not go to spiritual because I've seen, maybe because I schooled in the normal Nigerian setting, and some of these universities we have children of powerful men of God, both religion, even traditional.
But you still agree with me that the brain of a newly born child is like a tabula rasa. Where they play yes. the caretaker write what he or she
feels, which is that's what sinks
so in. To that extent somebody would have written those things in her memory.
Definitely. Mr. Matthew, let's move swiftly to South Africa. Death from South Africa street protest now 32. What do you make from this?
You see,
so which means our own protest is even better.
No. From what I understand, it is the death toll is as a result of stampede.
Okay.
Now, no. Even as the government of the day, led by Cyril Ramaphosa, have deployed police and even military personnel to curtail and check the spread of the protest.
But for the police have not opened fire on.
That is the area I'm going. That is the area I'm going.
If it is Nigeria,
that is the area I'm going. Because if you look at the area where these protests have taken place so far, it is area where the man is popular. And it happens to be the economic hub of Johannesburg. So however you look at it, it is South Africa is proving itself to be a better society when it comes to democracy. Because though it's unfortunate that people are protesting when a court issue a statement that is placing somebody behind a bar as a result of the person not respecting the court, because we understand that he was not cooperating with the courts, he was not forthcoming in bringing evidence, in bringing information that is necessary for his prosecution. So the court deemed it as a contempt of court, and he was sentenced to 15 months on that basis. So the society needed not to react because that is the rule of law playing out. Then again, if you look at the action of the government of South Africa, not clamping down on protesters, not harassing, intimidating, shooting protesters. It shows you that there's rule of law in that environment. But again, I think as South Africans should realize that if a leader is called to question on his stewardship, that leader should be allowed to have his day in court. Because if you are given a privilege to hold a position and perhaps you breach the trust, I'm not saying he has breached any trust because he has not been proven to have breached guilty by any court of competent jurisdiction. But what I'm trying to say is, in essence, is people who are protesting should realize that this man have an opportunity to defend himself in courts, and he should be given that opportunity to defend himself rather than people taking to the street, disturbing, looting, harassing people. And we have now seen stampede that claim up to 32 lives or so. For me, it is an unfortunate incident, and South Africans need to be discouraged from doing so. Because in Africa generally, it's only in Africa you see a leader will be accused of a crime, of graft. Instead of his followers allowing him to to go and defend himself and clear his name, you see people being partisan to the point of trying to circumvent the court process.
But don't you think that it is it's as a result of the kind of institution we run? Because sometimes we have this debate.
But you see,
sorry, I'm coming. People come to power, especially in Africa, where sentiment and ethnicity is a major factor. Unlike sinner climes, where you have a little bit of institutional, strong institutions who do justice irrespective of where you're from. And they play down to religion or ethnicity, and they leave people in their ethnic group that have probably stolen more from the same system, that have probably done more harm. Nigeria is a typical example.
I quite agree with you. Nigeria
now, don't you feel that in the place of injustice and inequality, where there's no equity, you want to prosecute? Not that the people protesting, some of them are not aware that the person in question might not have stolen. I have had a debate.
Okay, then what is the place of the protest?
I've had a debate in this same country with somebody, and he said, see, it's not because we don't know that our leaders from our region are stealing money. But the point is, some other people have stolen money, and he gave out facts to have shown that some other regions have stolen money. But they celebrate and keep their own. Let's keep our own. It's a normal.
What I'm saying generally is, by our standard, two wrong does not make a right.
Yes, true.
That
and being selective in justice does not make a right.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So whichever
I agree
way,
with you.
Anyway,
what I'm trying to say in essence is that Mr. A commits a crime and he's privileged to have his acolyte in government, and he's being shielded from prosecution, and Mr. C perhaps commits a similar crime, does not have somebody to shield him from prosecution. Yes. It's not sufficient for the supporters of Mr. C to say Mr. C should not be tried. What I'm saying is this. The reason I'm saying this is this. A day will come when the people that do not know Mr. B will be in power, and Mr. B will be called to render stewardship.
Mr. Matthew, since the people that are not in power for Mr. C to fight for him, those are people in power. The people now turn to those to do justice.
That is wrong. This is Africa. That is wrong. What we are saying is,
we're not here to debate.
What I'm trying to say is, that's what I'm saying. South Africans generally. I'm speaking about South African scenario.
No, I'm saying that South African scenario is also
applicable here. No, I agree with you.
But it's just that is small. They have a lower percentage in comparison to what is obtainable here.
I agree with you.
So it might be justifiable to some of those people, just like I said, in this same country, someone categorically told me, youth, that not because we don't know that these guys are stealing.
Now, if I may ask you, since you are representing that school of thought.
No, I'm not. I'm only pushing that. No, I'm of the opinion that whoever is wrong
should be tried on that basis.
Tried on the basis of your wrongness, the court of law. And if you're found guilty, you face the consequence.
Okay.
Yes. But in the process of,
irrespective of whether some other person have
no. But in the process of getting your wrongness, the same institution that can get your wrongness should not pretend not to have seen another wrongness. That is where my question.
As we go on, there's a scenario that will play out. I will remind you what we have just said.
Okay, no problem. So, but a situation in the case of Nigeria, whereby scenarios always close eye to one part.
I agree with you. I'm not unaware of what you're saying.
I am now of the opinion that if you can close your eye to all, or you open your eye to all, because I believe that what is good for the goose is a principle I adopt.
It's always good for the gander.
I bought sweet for. I have 2 cousins, and just because I bought one chocolate, the other one I think vanilla also. The other one with vanilla rejected it. You reject. So I had to collect the vanilla back. I checked back a distance of more than 10-15 minutes because I said no. And truly, in all honesty, the chocolate was better. I've tasted both. So
meaning you were biased?
No, I was thinking maybe I should pick one in case maybe one person would like chocolate and one would like vanilla. So if a child of the age of 6 and 4 can reject, so why wouldn't I bring the same principle that if you can't prosecute everybody, leave everybody? If you can't get some people cut across regions who have been destabilizing the peace of this country on the same table like the way we are hunting for some people, you leave everybody.
But can you stand before God and maintain that same status?
No, we are not before God. Okay. When we get to God, we apply the spiritual God spirituality. We are before man, Mr. Martin. So let's move quickly to another headline here. Suspended Anti-Graft Commission Chair Magaji Remingado appears before Kano Assembly.
Okay. You see, I think what is playing out in Kano is political. The reason is not far-fetched. Because the same chairman of the anti-graft agency in Kano State was alleged to have employed or deployed a level 4 personnel to man the accounting department of the agency.
Come again.
According to
level 4?
Yes, according to the state law, they say it is against the state law. Then again, I think if you look at what is playing out in that Kano State, some persons have alleged that it is political, that the governor wants him out.
Yeah, the governor is always good at wanting.
They cited instances how his former deputy governor was removed, that the same governor used the House of Assembly to achieve it, to shield himself from receiving direct bullet from critics. They equally cited the issue of the former emir of Kano, the brother Sanusi, how he equally used the House of Assembly to achieve it. Which
means the governor is a very good politician.
Yes. So for me, I think it is not about the incompetence of the man in question. It is a question of politics played out. Though from what I can understand, the governor have not come out clear to make people understand the rationale, the motive, the man's crime, the man's sin, why he wanted out. But however I look at it, the governor had the prerogative to appoint him. So the governor could have as well come straight forward to say, Mr. Man, I relieve you of your appointment.
Yes.
So he know the reason he's playing.
No, but if he really
politics
him of the
about
appointment
it
without evidence to lend him maybe to the court of law. So
we have seen instances even at the federal level where somebody have to be fired before the expiration of his tenure.
Yeah, but maybe they're looking for more tougher sanctions. You know, when you drag through this process, you go to the court of law, there are cases on your neck.
Have you know, where you know in Nigeria, under Obasanjo, how House of Assembly in Ekiti State remove a fire share even when they didn't form quorum? I don't know what the scenario of Alamisia.
We don't want to go to comedic relief. Nigeria is a country where have.
So for me, we don't know the motive behind why the government of Kano State want the man out. So, but for what you can understand, politics is played out.
Okay.
It is not purely based on the man's incompetence, because the way it stands, there is no valid allegation of corruption against the man.
Okay. For viewers at home who want to join us in the conversation, you can please send your comment to our comment page on.
So I think we'll wait and watch how the event fold up.
Okay. So
on food in Kano.
Is it not funny that sometimes when you read some of these headlines, you just look at, you sit and you look back like, what kind of country are we in? Like one of my lecturers in university, barrister Dr. Kuka, some years back, he said Nigeria is the only country in the world. Barrister Dr. Kuka is a lecturer at University of Obafemi Awolowo University, Faculty of Law. He said Nigeria is the only country in the world where everything is possible and nothing is impossible. Because if you read some of these headlines sometimes and you look at it critically, you probably might want to weep. We are really going to from here, if we're realistic to ourselves.
The problem is we have a country where the government itself do not have respect for rule of law. A situation where the government have not hidden its disdain for rule of law anything goes. Because if the government is on its own, placed by the rule, the government will be competent and will be bold enough to whip anybody into a line when you try to violate the rule. But if the government on its own part is the one initiating the process of violating the law.
The rules itself.
So what do you expect from the citizens? So for me, it is a recipe for crisis and anarchy.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, moving away from that, we'll be looking at the case that involves the People's Democratic Party, whereby Edu Opugwe said, you are not my mate in politics, I'm your senior. I was talking to the governor of...
I think that is personal politics. You look at what Okukwe is saying, telling Wike that his contemporary
an elected governor.
His contemporary is Peter Didi and one other person from his state. I think it's an ego thing.
Okay, Okukwe was never a governor.
I know. I think because perhaps it may not be age. He may be looking at the time he joined politics. I don't know the time he joined politics anyway. I think he may be looking at
being an executive governor of his state.
Pardon?
Joining politics is different from being an executive governor.
I agree with you. But you still agree with me. You still agree with me that there are some persons who have not been elected as the president of Nigeria and may not even have the opportunity of being elected as the president of Nigeria until their death. And Mr. President will address them as my leader.
Yes, true.
So to that extent, Okukwe may be right. So it's a function of when did you jump politics. If you look at the measure in contemporaries in
you can jump politics as a result of your age factor if you're older.
And the man in question served under Obasanjo as a presidential aide, served Jonathan as a presidential aide. So he may have played politics with the people who perhaps brought Wike into politics. That perhaps may have influenced his assertion. I'm only speculating. I'm only speculating.
Because I wanted to go the other way.
I do not have the facts. But I'm looking at scenarios that could make somebody talk to somebody as you are my boy and not your mates. Your boss is my mate.
But what has that got to
because if you look at it now, I think we can have high respect for Peter Didi.
Yes, he is.
Now, if Okukwe should be telling Wike that Peter Didi is my contemporary, he's telling that your boss is my contemporary.
How true is that? That's
Peter Didi have not spoken, so I don't know how true is it. But I'm trying to say is,
I'm trying to estimate their role in terms of Nigerian politics individually. I don't know.
But Peter Didi at the time was the governor of the state,
and he wanted to contest for the post of the president.
Of course, he wanted to contest for the post of the president, and
even a governor.
He joined politics way far.
You can join politics earlier because of your age factor. You might be older at that point. How old was Wike?
But in this part of the world, age is a factor when talking to an individual.
That's why we don't move forward as a people.
No, whether you like it or not, and Obasanjo, wait, I'm coming. Even as you are speaking now, you cannot come to Obasanjo and talk to him as if you are talking to your mate.
No, it's true.
There should be some level of respect.
Yes. No, I'm not disputing that.
I think whether we like it or not, it's a factor. If that is all you are looking at in this part of the world.
That's why
for people who say age is a number, I think they just want to be smart.
No, they're looking at
because at times some people want to disrespect their elders and they will tell you age is a number.
No, that I don't support.
Okay, thank God you don't support
it. So there are some elderly people that use age, especially when they are wrong. You know,
to intimidate the
just like, am I your mate? You know, if level is wrong. I mean, this kind of African. In fact, sometimes they quote proverb for you. So when they speak in your mother tongue and it makes you feel so bad, like, okay, I should be calmer because he's older than me. Just spoke a proverb, and so
that is not the scenario. That is not the scenario I'm looking at.
Okay.
Naturally, if you see the way we are being trained in Africa, if you see an elderly person, naturally, you know that you needed to show him some level of respect.
So the whites don't have respect, right? Is that what you mean?
I'm not speaking for the whites.
I'm telling you that they have respect. Maybe they don't carry it like the way Africans say to carry their.
And it's not wrong to respect your elder.
No, nobody's saying it's wrong. I'm just telling you that the way and manner each carries the respect differs.
You know what I'm saying? Because you see this issue of cultural ethnocentrism that worries our people. Because most people will see the European culture, the Igbo man's culture as being superior to our own culture. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
No, nobody's saying that, but it's just that
and it's not wrong. It's not wrong.
Our development as a people.
No, that is not the bane of our problem. It's not wrong for a young
It's part
person.
of our problem.
Get what I'm trying to say here? It's not wrong for a young person to respect an elderly person.
No, nobody's.
And I don't think that is our problem.
No, that's not.
And if Okukpa is telling him based on age, based on the time he done politics, and he's trying to draw his attention. Okay, let me remind you this. Kogi State Governor was remanded by the Zendibo when he was talking about zoning. They reminded that when zoning was decided that he was still in school. What are they trying to tell him? That he's a kid. Boy. So what are we saying?
Okay, I think Mr. Henry Ike Guru said Wike was the local government chairman when the league governed the Rivers State. Yes, Wike was the local government. So for Okuba to be comparing himself to as at that time, what was Okube? In fact,
I say I'm speculating.
No, as at that time when Odili was the governor, Wike was the local government. I think Wike was at the age of 32, while Mamechi was around 33. Then what's the name of this other guy? Magnus Abig was 31. The three of them were occupying key position under Odili. I think I still have a profile. I was doing their documentary some time ago. So Wike was already in governance. Was it local government? He was an executive position, local government chairman in one of the richest local government in the whole of Rivers State as at that point in time. So if you look at it as at that point in time, Wike was not a small boy in that sense when Odili was even a governor.
Perhaps Okukpe might have played politics with Peter Odili because he specifically mentioned Peter Odili and one other person I cannot remember now. Okay, whichever way, that is personal, but I think they should be looking at how they can really affect the Nigerian masses. All these politics of who is old. The Prime Minister of Canada, the last Prime Minister, was around the age of 35. Macron is around 40-something years old. See, these guys are doing well, better than most of our old African leaders. If you have I'm not saying that you should not vote the elders out.
No, I'm just saying that I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that those their age don't mean anything to somebody.
I agree with you.
In fact, the age is drawing us backward because most of these guys don't know the use of tech in handling so many common solutions. I mean, so that's the point I was driving at. So moving fast, we're looking at Senate rejects Onochie as INEC commissioner. Speculations about this has always been on for a while that she was a member of the APC, she wasn't a member of the APC, she can't be the one to be appointed, and so many debate about her nomination. What do you make of this? Because some people speculated that
personally,
some people speculated that had it been it was the former Senate, which happened to be the 8th Senate, that they would have rejected that this is a rubber stamp Senate. Is it that the Senate is redeeming their image?
They are not redeeming their image. I will tell you what transpired. They actually rejected that. And Nigerians, that is what Nigerians actually expected. If you look at the two reasons they cited the issue of federal character.
Okay.
That has to do with either Section 14 or Section 3 of the National Constitution as amended. And they equally cited partisanship on her own part, belonging to a political party. Now, if you look at the statement credited to the Senate, they were more interested in federal character than they played down on her partisanship in politics. Though it's there. Now, there is one barrister, I cannot remember the name now, who happens to hail from Delta State, who is already a national commissioner in INEC, who was confirmed by a Senate. So to that extent, Senate said, since Delta State already have a representation in that commission, in the spirit of true federal character, that it is right they are fair to other regions, other states, by allowing other states fair representation. Good and fine. That is what we expected from the Senate in all circumstances, not limited to Onochie's issue. Because I can remember that we have seen instances where the chief of army staff, all the service chiefs, were coming from one particular geopolitical zone.
So maybe the Senate forgot us at that point in time.
And the Senate were not quick to remember that there's a federal character that existed.
No, those nominations never
they approved their nomination with speed of light. I'm not against what they did because that is the position of the law. But what I'm charging the Senate henceforth going forward is that they should always be guided by the constitution.
No, the Senate has remembered that.
As they now allow itself to be guided by the tenets of the constitution. That going forward, they should always be guided, and each time they decide not to be guided by the constitution, we will not fail to remind them that, don't you forget that in the case of Onochie, that you were guided by the constitution. What is happening now?
No, they are humans.
No, I like it too.
No, but
I'm happy because that is the position of the law.
Okay.
I am not against what they did, but I'm saying that going forward, they should be guided by the constitution, the position of the constitution, especially that through further character.
But sorry, Mr. Let's be fair. They are humans. There are times they can forget to know everything inside the constitution.
Okay, are you saying it because of the plethora of petition against Onochie? That is why they quickly remember that further character existed.
They might
don't forget that even towards the expiration of the tenure of the former IG of police, people were already reminding the government about further character, so that the government will be guided on where and who to appoint the next IG. So don't say that
they can forget to read it and remember now.
Okay,
humans,
okay, I give it to them.
So Mr. Mati, looking at the last headline, we probably is not the least. 2023, Tambuwal, as the governor of Sokoto State, advises electronic voting process. You know, it's a different thing for you to have the card reader, which is electronic, and you collating the results using electronic means as a collation. So some people have argued that it is even much more better for you to collate the final result electronically.
All the positions he have occupied in the history of Nigerian politics, that he have been in the leadership of political parties, that he have led the National Assembly, specifically the House of Rep as a speaker, that he is now 2-term governor, and some other positions he mentioned. Now he said he's speaking from his point of as a former speaker and as a Nigerian. Don't forget that he is equally the deputy chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum.
Yes.
So if you have looking for experience politically in Nigeria, give it to him.
Yes, it's true.
Now he said one thing. He tried to differentiate between electronic voting and electronic transmission of results. He gave it to people who may argue that Nigeria is not ripe for total electronic voting.
Yes.
But that cannot be said of electronic transfer of results.
Yes, it's true.
And I think I agree with you.
Two different things.
For people who argue that we are not ripe for electronic voting,
yes, it's true.
I give it to them. Because look at what transpired in America, where you have to make in vote. I don't think that is obtainable in Nigeria. I'm coming. Now, looking at electronic transfer, there are so many mediums through which result can be transmitted electronically.
Yes, true.
Because you are not relying on NEPA. You have your device as electoral officer.
In fact, you just need something.
The hard copy you tallied from the unit
is what you snap.
You input it into your system your device, and you send it to designated sites. So for me, if you allow that process of transmission from the polling unit before it even gets to the ward collation center, it will remove a whole lot of electoral malpractice that we used to witness hitherto before now. Because if you look at ballot snatching, ballot stuffing, it happens between the unit collation center and ward collation center and local government collation center. And the greater manipulation happens at the level of between local government and not even state, because you have to connect the senatorial district first. So it happens between the local government and senatorial district before it gets to state. In some cases, federal constituency before it gets to state, senate, senatorial district, and then state. So you see a whole lot of manipulation. But if, as at the time you tally your result from the polling unit, you electronically transmit it to a designated site where all the international monitors, all the accredited monitors have access to monitor and follow what is happening
instantly.
If there are issues, the hard copy that is tallied from the unit could be used to verify whether there is any alteration or not. So for me, Tambuwal is on point.
Okay.
I give it to him.
So we'll give it to Tambuwal, Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State. Viewers at home, you can please send your comment, and for those who probably join us late, on Thursday we'll be online because tomorrow we won't be online for tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So for Thursday we'll be online, and possibly, God's willing, on Friday as well. So Mr. Matthew, before you leave, what's your final thought looking at the headlines and some of the issues we've talked about?
My final thought has always been that the government should give rule of law a chance to operate. Rule of law is the basis of democracy, and if you circumvent it, you kill democracy. We are seeing instances where the best of nations allow rule of law to prevail, and that is what is deepening their democracy and advancing their democracy. Whether we like it or not, the only way we can deepen and advance our democracy if we allow rule of law to have its way.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
On a final note, for those who happen to be in governance in whichever way, especially those within the security agencies, maybe for those of us living in Lagos and some other part of the country, it is worrisome the way the security operative, even after the NSAS, go about doing some of their operation. For those in governance and those in power, those who probably talk to some of these people who control the mechanisms and the structures of power, please, our last mile officers, especially in Lagos, like I had to pay tax force in Lekki fees one, they just drive and they just stop in your front. You say, oh, why did you stop? And I asked the young man, and the car had a fault. He said, no, and before you know it, we're up to 5. They'll start dipping their hands into your vehicle. In fact, there are times that people have complained that they steal things from their vehicle. So, and the funny part is, in the process of doing that today, I just paid 10,000 naira somewhere around Lekki Phase 1. The office is located very close to Admiralty entrance to gate. They said is their junction point where they stop vehicles. That's what you do now. So in fact, the guy, there was no paper. He was delaying me, and my mom is in the hospital, so I had to give him the money to a personal account. So it wasn't even to the government account.
It's
so
unfortunate.
It's unfortunate the kind of system we run, and I had to pay because I told him someone is in a critical state. It was a white Benz. They had to stop. I and my younger brother just about 2 hours ago before we came into the show. That's why I had to run down to the show. It's pathetic what people are experiencing in this part of the world. You don't stop people for disobeying a traffic rule, and you don't give distance between you and them. You jump into the vehicle, about 3-4 of you. You collected the car. You start dipping your hand into some other part of the cars, and before you know, they start bringing up phones. They said there's a Lagos state law that says you will go to prison for 9 months, and you need to see the coordinate. They can't speak simple but correct tenses. I don't know how they recruit some of these guys. It is worrisome, the kind of life we're living in this part of the world. It is worrisome, and that is why when we look at some of these headlines, from the NIN to the SIM registration, has it really been effective? If you check the procedure, if you're going to complain to police or the MTN office that you're going to use to track maybe a crime scenario of maybe 50,000 naira, or the kidnapper asks for 100 or 200,000, the agencies will tell you that if you can pay them 1 million, why can't you pay us 500,000? For an official job, you're going to pay them. So most times they just develop, like I said, let's take attitude and tell you, there's nothing we can do. They will make the thing even more worrisome to you. It is pathetic that we live in this part of the world. But whichever, we will be saying the truth at every point in time, so that those in governance can do the needful, because Nigeria is not a good place to be, looking at all the statistics of human indices. So join us on Thursday, same platform, same channel. My name is Effiong Samuel, and with me is Mr. Onochie Bienusi Matthew. Thank you for watching Flip TV.
Thank you very much. Once again, I thank you for having me.